Hey guys, this is AOKRJ, and right now I've begun to realize something. I've actually been really obsessed with Fullmetal Alchemist, and especially Edward Elric, especially because dating real men isn't really that appealing to me anymore. Okay, that's probably a topic to have during therapy, or maybe another story. Yeah, I'll get to that at a later date. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is, I've been really into Full Metal Alchemist and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Like I watched them I believe maybe a year after the pandemic or during the pandemic. I watched both series, the original and Brotherhood, when they were still on Netflix before Netflix decided to take them down. But that's neither here nor there. So I've been really obsessed with it. I've watched both of the shows. I watched tons of the OVAs that came out of it. I even watched some clips from like the video games that they had and things like that. I did watch the first movie. I still have yet to watch the second movie, especially because I've heard that it's really bad, but I could probably muscle through it, especially because I love the show so much and I love the characters, and I love Edward Elric dearly, so I'll probably watch that at some point. But then, like, this fixation has, like, really made me discover that I do this a lot. I've done it a lot. Like, when it comes to, like, parts of, like fiction, anything to do with fiction, really. And like movies, TV shows, books, though mostly cartoons and anime and things like that. Like I've been doing it since I was a kid. Like from watching like VHS tapes until they burn out and or like watching them so much that I memorize the lines and say them back, or like I'll talk about them to like anyone I can find. Like right now, I'll talk to anyone that I meet about like Full Metal Alchemist, especially if they point out my Edward Elric pins that I have on my work vest. And it's also like the first fandom that I actually got a bunch of merchandise about. But I think I'm getting ahead of myself when it comes to like my current hyperfixation. What I'm here to talk about is that this is just something about my person that has always been around, and I'm kind of just now starting to realize a pattern. Yeah, it's taken me a while just to see, like, I do this a lot. Like I said, I would watch VHS tapes of movies that I liked until they eventually burnt out, or like my parents eventually threw them out so that they wouldn't have to hear like the same sounds from the TV or my room ever again. It was probably that. My parents probably threw out a lot of the VHS tapes that I really liked. Well, not like really, really liked, but like stuff that like if I was like really like obsessing over it and they were just sick of it. And I've come to realize that there's actually a word for this, which is which is called hyperfixation. Though I'm aware it could be an extreme like word to use to describe what I've gone through as a kid. So it might just be obsession, it might just be like a passionate interest. Like I'd probably have to look into it a little bit more. But even then, like this is just something that I've realized that has been a pattern throughout my life. And I wanted to share it with you guys. Though it has been a thing since I was really little, probably since I was like a toddler or something like that. There's only a few that I remember very vividly. One of them being the focus of this video, which is my time being a hoot owl. And that is a word that I will explain later on, so let's just get into like the beginning of this story. Way back in the beginning of my less fuzzy memories, my older sister introduced me to Owl City. They had this kind of like iPod thing. I don't know if it wasn't the Nano, but it did have a screen. It wasn't just the shuffle where it was just like a little square with buttons. You youngings wouldn't understand. But yeah, it wasn't just the square, it wasn't the shuffle, but it was maybe the Nano I don't know, because it was like a square with a screen and like 4 or 5 buttons. And how you scrolled through was that you move your finger along the circle like a wheel. So you can like scroll down the list. And my sisters had a lot of songs, like different kinds of music from Linkin Park to MCR. And they had maybe one song from this music group called Owl City, which is Fireflies. And that was kind of the beginning of the end for me when it came to things I was kind of obsessing over. I hear this song, like I'm like my sis like I put in the headphones. I was maybe like 9 or 10, so I knew how to work something. Even though this is kind of like a new device that I was exposed to. The thing is ancient, like by today's standards, but to a kid in the 2000s, like a 9 or 10 year old kid from the 2000s, like it was peak technology. And this was like 2009, or like, and this might have been like 2009, I think. So I put in the headphones and I'm like listening to this song, and I'm just like, my mind is just blown, like from what I'm hearing, like from the electronic music to the voice that was singing and the words, or like the lyrics. Like, I was just so taken to this thing, and it was, I don't even know how to describe it. Like, just hearing this song, it was kind of like my, like, it was kind of how I discovered what music really is. I think it was some of my first ever exposures to like actual music, because up until then I was just, all I knew about music was that, like, oh, like in Disney there's a lot of singing and whatever my parents would play on the radio, and I didn't even know what it was. I think I was like listening to ABBA and stuff like that, like at an early age. I think I can probably tell you a story about that, but that's for another time. But yes, I'm listening to this song and I'm just immediately taken to it. And when I got my first like MP3 player, because my sisters got tired of me like always asking to listen to Fireflies on their iPod, my parents got me a little, kind of like this little MP3 player. It was like this pink little thing. It was kind of shaped like a tube almost, or like an hourglass. I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, it had an SD card. It worked by an SD card, where like you can like put it into a computer and download music. Yeah, my sisters helped me download some music, and one of the first songs that I downloaded, which like it was Fireflies by Owl City, and I listened to that song nonstop. I would play it every time, like I would like plug in my headphones and I would listen to the song all the time as I looked out the window, like on a drive, like on a car ride to like somewhere, or like if I was just going with like one of my parents to like do some errands, or if I was on my way to school, like I would always like listen to that song in particular. And then this also led to me like wanting to look up the words so that I could sing along to, because I didn't know the words, even though I've listened to it so many times. So I went on the family computer and I looked up the lyrics on YouTube, and I'm just like listening and like reading along with the lyrics until I have the whole song memorized. And it was such a good feeling to like actually be able to sing along to the music. But then doing that, it also led me to discover other songs made by this artist. And this is also where I learned that there was so much more music out there. When I went on YouTube to look up a lyrics video, and it was like one of those really old lyrics videos where like they have like the starry background and like the quirky font or something like that. Or sometimes there were some that even had Comic Sans font in it. Oh, what a time to be alive in the 2000s. Anyway, I'm getting off track. But looking up this lyrics video, like, it led me to learn that there's more music out there, and that there's more than one song made by this artist. And that led me down another rabbit hole where I was listening to other music by them and learning about like the music group and like who's a part of it, and it's just one guy. It's one guy named Adam Young. And seeing him, like 10-year-old me was like, am I supposed to be feeling something right now? It was nuts. I looked up so many like interview videos just so I can like see his face and hear like his natural like talking voice, and I was immediately taken to him. And I learned so much about him, or like that he actually wrote Fireflies because he was up late at night. He couldn't sleep because of his insomnia, and he wrote and created the song like on a whim because he just couldn't sleep, which is why there isn't a definite meaning behind it, where like it's just like a song that he wrote because he was up all night due to his insomnia, and he just made the song, so there's no real meaning to it, which interested me and fascinated me, that there could be a song with no meaning but it could still like be so whimsical, and yet it can also tell like it can also show so much of like the songwriter's personality, and in those interviews I learned that he was very shy and introverted, and he's the sweetest little thing, and that he's so socially awkward. He loves the ocean, and that he loves chocolate and sweets much like I do, and he actually skateboards. And I think what really like kind of like drew me like more into Owl City and the artist in general was to learn that he was also bullied throughout most of his school life, which kind of led him to like leaning into music more than like social interaction, and it ultimately helped him to grow in his craft and like get better at it, which I found really inspiring as someone who was bullied like in school, like to be able to find an escape and then find a passion within that escape. It was really inspiring to me. So yeah, when I found out more about him and more of his music, I was hooked, and I had the biggest crush on Adam Young. I listened to his music all the time, and some of my other favorite songs besides Fireflies are Plant Life, Dreams Don't Turn to Dust, Gold, Good Time, Deer in the Headlights, and just so many more. And even some of the songs that he made for movies, like When Can I See You Again from Wreck-It Ralph, and To the Sky from like that movie about the Guardians. I don't know the title of the movie exactly, but it looked pretty cool. Even though I haven't seen it, I only saw the trailer. But for a long time, Owl City became my escape. And I would just have my earbuds in. I'd be looking out the car window, or like looking out the window of the bus as I rode it to and from school. And then when I was alone in my room, I would like blast it in my room, and I'd be dancing around and just pretending I'm in a music video, which everyone has done in their life, right? Right? Yeah, I'm right. And when I did this, I would always kind of close my eyes and imagine that I was somewhere else. Like I was in some place that was like magical and surrounded by trees and fireflies and just the sounds of nature, and not like the screeching cars or like sirens outside, like, and not my sisters arguing at the time. It was just me, the music, and the sounds of nature, which ultimately kind of led to like my daydreaming personality, I think. Oh god, and for a long time I called myself, or like identified as, a hoot owl. And like I promised, I have the definition right here. So if I can just... And according to Urban Dictionary, a very reliable source to educate yourself on internet slang like this, hoot owl, a person who lives in a dreamy state of mind called Owl City, which is a music project by Adam Young. Hoot owls have their own unique way of thinking. They tend to get along with each other and tend to see owls and feathers everywhere. Hoot owls are daydreamers and like romance. Some have problems sleeping at night and are introverts. Which I can even relate to now. As an introvert myself, being around people for long periods of time really tires me out, which is why I don't really like being at parties and stuff like that. And I prefer to like stay at home, like either by myself or maybe even with my friends occasionally. I love hanging out with my friends and I love spending time with family, but I do need my silence and alone time every now and then to just recharge my social battery. Plus, I can be a bit of a hopeless romantic, especially when it comes to like people I've crushed on. And Edward Elric, again, that's another story. I was such a nerd back then, calling myself a hoot owl and gushing over Adam Young, daydreaming while listening to his music, wishing to see Owl City live. I mean, I still think about it now, like wanting to go see them live and just experience it. And this interest also led to my to my love of owls. Like, after getting into Owl City and just kind of, like, also learning about different kinds of animals growing up, I really kind of developed, like, an interest in owls. Oh, especially now on TikTok when I see people with, like, pet owls and just... they're such cool birds, honestly. Especially because, like, they have, like, kind of, like, tube eyes instead of, like, eyeballs. Which is why they always have to, like, turn their head. They can't, like, move their eyes around like we do. It's really interesting. And actually, that obsession, it led me to getting an owl statue, which is right here. I took this off the shelf for you guys. Boop. This is Adam, named after him, of course. And I do have an owl plushie that's named Randall, but he's all the way over there in that corner. So, yeah, you're only going to see Adam. Maybe you'll see Randall another time. And Randall is actually Adam Young's middle name, which makes sense. So I'm just keeping that train going. Maybe but then again, I don't think I'll get like another owl object and name him Young, because that's a last name. And also, who would name their child Young? No. But yeah, owls have interested me like ever since I got into Owl City and looked more into them. Oh, especially because of like Harry Potter as well, a little bit, even though I wasn't that into it. I was still fascinated by Hogwarts and things like that and wizards. So yeah, owls have always like interested me, and they're such like cute and like fierce birds, especially like the small fluffy ones. I was really fixated on this like music project for a good few years, and it really shaped my taste in music and imagery. And I still listen to it, and I just feel so much comfort when I do. It's like when you watch a feel-good movie just to feel like those warm fuzzy feelings, or if you have like some comfort food after a bad day. Like, it feels like that to me. And this is one of the many hyperfixations I've gone throughout my life. And there's still a lot more, but that'll have to wait till next time on Dragon Ball Z. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I really shouldn't have done that. But still, the next few videos are going to be phases that I've gone through like throughout my life. This is just one of them. And I want to hear like about like interests that you guys have. Like this video you can say in the comments of like what other bands have you like been in? Have you been like interested in like throughout the time you were growing up? Like, do you Like, were there some bands that you were really into, like, as a kid or a teenager and grew out of, or some that you heard from a young age and are still into to this day? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you like this video, leave it a like and subscribe and ring that bell, like, to get the notification of when I post. And if you like seeing my jumbled thoughts and rambling, then I hope to see you next time. Later.